Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to a big news session for today. As you know, the finance minister yesterday presented Modi government's last full budget before the next general elections that take place the next year. The budget had a lot of key announcements, and in this big news video, we will be discussing specifically the announcements in the area of green growth as per the Finance Minister of India. But before we go deeper into that, a quick reminder 4th of February, that is this upcoming Saturday, we have a very important live workshop for all of you exclusively on the BYJU'S Exam Prep app at 6 p.m. where Samar sir will be discussing how to ensure that you qualify the UPSC prelims examination in the very first attempt. This is a very important workshop for all of you that gives you a chance to ask any of your questions live to our experts. Don't forget to download the app and join in right at 6 p.m. Now, as you know, the Government of India presented its Union Budget 2023-24 yesterday. This Union Budget, also called as the Amrit Kal Budget, highlighted the 7 priorities of the government, which are together called the Saptrishi. The Government of India said that the budget will focus on inclusive development, reaching the last mile, infrastructure and investment, unleashing the potential, green growth, youth power, and financial sector. Now, in all of that, in this video of the big news, we will be discussing mainly on the concept of green growth. As you know, for the past few years, the Government of India has constantly been initiating a lot of new schemes to push India towards green energy. We have been trying to find many more alternatives to the form of energy that we use right now, and India has been successful in making considerable progress. For example, solar, wind, hydropower, green hydrogen, all of these have been at the center of focus. Now, let us discuss some of the initiatives announced by the finance minister yesterday. The green hydrogen mission. Now, that was not really a part of the budget yesterday, but the green hydrogen mission has already been a part of the government's planning. The government recently launched this mission and announced an outlay of 19,700 crore rupees to ensure that we focus more on green hydrogen generation as a fuel, and not just generation but also making it easy to transfer this from one state to the other. See, a big problem when it comes to having different types of fuel or energy is how do you transport this? For example, green hydrogen may be manufactured in a certain state where you would set up the green hydrogen plant. Now, how do you ensure that that gets transported to all other parts of the country? That remains a challenge which the government is trying to fill up. We have set up a target to achieve annual production of 5 MMT of green hydrogen by 2030. Now, this year's budget provided 35,000 crore rupees for priority capital investment towards energy transition and the net zero objectives. As you know, the government of India has already announced that we will try to achieve net zero by 2070. Now, transitioning towards any new source of energy is always going to be an expensive exercise. The new technologies are always more expensive. You need to push people towards using new forms of energy that might require new investment because the machinery also has to be new. There has to be a big capital expenditure. For that, the government is expected to step in. And this is what the government is planning to do here with this budget. Not just this, the government has also announced that they will provide viability gap funding in the battery manufacturing sector specifically. As you know, our focus on electric vehicles, EVs, has been increasing year after year. A big component of having successful EVs is to have a dependable battery. For that, the government needs to ensure that we put a lot of investment into this sector. Now, one sector where India has actually grown leaps and bounds in the last few years is actually the solar energy. India already is the world's fourth largest producer of solar energy, and that's a big jump as compared to where we were a few years back. The good part is that India has been blessed a lot of sunlight 12 months in a year. We have a wide geography, most of which receives good amount of sunlight throughout the year. That is why solar becomes the natural choice. However, in the initial years, we saw the solar panels were extremely expensive. The government has now been able to bring down the cost considerably and thus make it much more affordable. The government also initiated the Green Credit Program. Now, what exactly is this? Under this program, companies, individual local bodies will be given an encouragement to go ahead and set up their own forest. Let me give you an example. So if a certain community decides that they have a certain community land and they want to grow a forest in there, they can make that forest, and after about 3 years of time at least, they can ask the forest department that they want compensation in exchange for this forest. So if they meet the guidelines of the forest department, they will be compensated for this, and the forest department in turn will be able to achieve its aim of afforestation. We also have the PM Pranam, that is PM program for restoration, awareness, nourishment, and amelioration of Mother Earth. Mainly, this program is looking to push people and farmers specifically towards alternative fertilizers. Now, as you know, the government of India has a huge bill of fertilizers, specifically urea. Just to give you an example, a fertilizer that would be marketed at 17,000 rupees per ton is actually given to the farmers at about 6,000 rupees per ton. This huge cost difference has to be borne by the government in the form of subsidy. Because the urea and other kind of fertilizers are actually available to farmers at below market price, there's a tendency to use them in a manner where they are used in a much more quantity as compared to what it is required. That also leads to land degradation, that also leads to decreasing quality of agriculture. That is what we are planning to alter here. We also have the Gobardhan scheme. This will also have multiple objectives. It aims to increase the farmers' income by ensuring that they are not just dependent on agriculture. The government will set up 500 new waste to wealth plants under this scheme, and we will mainly focus on ensuring that we have enough biogas plants all across the country, in urban and in the rural areas as well. Then we have the Mishti scheme. As you know, under the Mishti scheme, the government of India has been giving a push to mangroves. Recently at COP27, India was one of the few countries that came together to make an alliance for conservation of mangrove forest. This is what the Mishti scheme is. Mishti is mangrove initiated for shoreline habitats and tangible incomes. The local community living in these areas where we do have a lot of mangroves will be helped. They can be rest assured that the mangroves will help them not just in stopping certain natural disasters, but also cleaning the environment and providing them an alternate source of income as well. The government has also been focusing on Amrit Dharohar. This is keeping in mind the wetlands, which again are very important and significant feature of any ecosystem. The government will promote the conservation of wetlands and make sure that they are used optimally, not just for generating income for local communities, but also to give a boost to tourism in this sector. So all these initiatives have been taken by the government of India, keeping in mind how can we not just improve the income, but also ensure that we attract more and more people towards these places. The government also said that we want to give a further boost to the vehicle scrappage policy. As you know, the vehicle scrappage policy was mentioned first in 2021-22 budget. The finance minister said that adequate funds will be allocated to the central government to ensure that this scheme becomes a success. The states will also be supported. The entire idea is, if you are going to buy a new car, the consumer will be encouraged to first scrap their old cars. They will be given certain rebate, so the new car will become affordable, and you will not have cluttering of roads as we usually do in our bigger cities especially. It will be a voluntary scheme. Private cars above 20 years old and commercial vehicles above 15 years old can be taken up for scrappage, and people can expect certain rebate in return. These were the initiatives taken by the government under the green growth vertical of this year's union budget. I do hope that all of you do a deep study of all these initiatives, because the government's focus in terms of renewable energy and sustainable development has been on a constant increase in the past few years. This is it for today's big news video. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with your friends as well. Thank you.